Independence Day Resurgence is finally here, one of the most anticipated movies of 2016. It was directed by Roland Emmerich. It stars Jeff Goldblum, Jesse Usher, Liam Hemsworth, and Bill Pullman. So the movie is a real-time sequel in as much as it's set 20 years after the first film, where we had the War of 1996. So while the aliens were getting their collective butts kicked in the first film, they sent out a distress call to their hive colony millions of miles out in space. And it's taken 20 years for backup to arrive. So backup comes along, we're ready for it, it's time to kick ass, right? Well, not really. So look, I was a really big fan of Independence Day back when it was released. You know, that was an era when all these movies came out that, you know, were big, dumb, cheesy sort of movies, but we lapped them up. You know, it was just a signature of that time period where we wanted those kind of movies. We wanted the cheesy dialogue and we loved it. You look at the four biggest blockbusters of 1996, the highest grossing movies, and they were Independence Day, Twister, Mission Impossible, and The Rock. And Independence Day was the granddaddy of them all. I mean, you know, it really brought a whole new level of mass destruction. It was like, you know, we'd seen destruction before, but not on a scale like that. It was like the first of its kind for big global destruction, and we loved it. We really did. And so 20 years later, you know, the trailers came along for the sequel, and I was kind of looking at it thinking to myself, I wonder how this is going to go, because that kind of movie belonged in the 90s, and I thought they really need to step it up. Not just bigger destruction or anything like that, but, you know, they needed a decent story, they needed good dialogue, characters, that sort of thing. And they failed on pretty much every level. Honestly, Independence Day Resurgence is going to go down as one of the worst movies of 2016 for me. So the one thing that, you know, the movie really needed that the first one had was likable characters. Like I said, you know, the first one, yeah, it was a cheesy flick, it really was, but it was fun, and there were good characters in it. You know, you got Will Smith and his cocky swagger, you know, Jeff Goldblum's eccentric scientist. Bill Pullman, not so much. I thought he was kind of wooden in the first one. But the movie just had this sort of charisma to it and, you know, a real sense of urgency. I mean, I love that opening scene so much. You know, where you've got the moon and, you know, the shadows coming over. Well, the score music for a start was amazing. You know, you have your Independence Day theme, and as the shadows looming over, the music darkens, and not only that, but, you know, then you got your countdown to the alien strike, and there was a real sense of tension. They built up that tension so well in the first part of Independence Day, and I really thought, you know, as long as they have something like this in the sequel, cool. But they didn't. They failed so badly. So for starters, the characters were just forgettable. All the new casts, like, they were just phoning in the performances, and, you know, the dialogue and directing I blame for that, because there was no dialogue that really made me like any of the characters. I mean, Jesse Usher, who plays Will Smith's son in the film, you know, I kind of thought at least maybe he'll have that same kind of cocky edge to him, but I saw the movie last night and I honestly cannot remember a single memorable thing that he did or said. Like, he was just a really bland character. Same with Liam Hemsworth. He was kind of likable, but give it next week, I'm gonna absolutely forget anything he did in the film. As far as the returning cast from the previous one, like, you know, Jeff Goldblum, he's always good, you know, so he was likable. Brent Spiner as Dr. Oaken, I thought was just kind of there for the sake of bringing him back. The less said about Vivica Fox's character, who returns from the first one, the better, because, well, all I'm going to say is that was a really impressive 5 seconds of screen time. Like, what the hell? Bill Pullman, admittedly, I thought he was better than in the first film. Like I said, in the first one, I thought he was very wooden. This one, his performance was definitely better. He, I guess, had a little bit more to work with, being that his character had, you know, gone a little insane. So, yeah, he had a bit more to work with. But, yeah, aside from his performance and Jeff Goldblum's, there really weren't any standouts whatsoever. And aside from that, there was just too many characters. you know, you get halfway through the film and you're still bringing in new characters. There's this group of kids that suddenly shows up, which was led by Joey King, who's, you know, she's a fine actress, but all of a sudden you got these new people and they served no purpose to the story whatsoever. Okay, so characters and dialogue aside, look, the special effects were okay. There were a few scenes that just sort of looked like unfinished green screen. You know, it was just really obvious. And, you know, one of the draw cards of the first film was the destruction. You know, I mean, in that trailer, we had the White House getting decimated, that sort of thing. You know, this one, you have that trailer where you've got the Burj Khalifa falling out of the sky and all sorts of cool stuff going on, but I thought that sequence was just too brief. It was, yeah, very underwhelming. And another fault that's worth mentioning was the editing in the film as well. Overall, it was okay, but there was a few scenes, particularly one scene where our hotshot young fighter pilots go into the mothership. The editing in that whole sequence was really bad and sort of left us trying to figure out exactly what happened. Like, the sequence of events wasn't very well transitioned from one to the other. So, yeah, the editing kind of gets a thumbs down from me as well. But that's just kind of what the film felt like to me, was just a bunch of action sequences strung together with a really weak plot and weak characters. And not only that, an extremely obvious throw open to a third movie. I mean, you have this subplot with this giant white artificial intelligence ball that was pretty much only there throughout the whole film, I might add, to give a reason why there's going to be a third one. And yeah, that was so lame. Now, I get it. There's going to be some people out there who are going to be like, hey, what were you expecting? Shakespeare? And no, of course I wasn't expecting Shakespeare. What I was expecting was something in the vein of the first one, just a big, dumb, fun, enjoyable, switch your brain off kind of movie. But realistically, the only thing I got out of it was dumb, maybe big. It really treated its audience like a bunch of unintelligent morons. You know, even the opening, there was so much forced exposition. Like, you know, we have this sequence where we can see the blend of alien and human technology. You know, we have these helicopters that don't have rotor blades. You know, they're powered by some kind of alien stuff, which is very obvious. But of course, then we have a voiceover from the new female president explaining all that. And it's like, well, I can see what's going on. I can, you know, figure that out in my own mind. I don't need the characters to explain to me what I'm seeing on screen. So, yeah, you know, it just didn't have any of the energy or soul that the first one did. It wasn't fun. So despite the fact that, you know, I was kind of looking forward to it and very interested to see how it was going to go, I am going to have to give Independence Day Resurgence a 2 out of 10. So thanks very much for watching my review. I would love to know what you guys thought of this movie. And if you loved it, let me know why, you know, because I know this is just my opinion, and I'm sure there's going to be people out there who dug the flick. So, you know, I'd love to hear reasons why. If you like this review, there's going to be plenty more to come, so make sure you click subscribe, because I like to talk about movies, and I would love to talk about movies with you. See you next time.
Hey you there. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Click subscribe. You see the big word up the top that says subscribe? Well, click on it. Click on it now. Do it. Yeah.